There are moments in life when the weight you carry cannot be explained, when doors begin to close without reason, when your peace is interrupted by an unseen pressure that lingers in your mind, your heart, and your spirit. You try to move forward, yet something keeps pulling you back. You pray, but the silence feels heavier than ever. You smile in public, yet inside there is a quiet battle no one else can see. This is not coincidence, and it is not weakness. There is a deeper reality unfolding around you. Spiritual attacks are often subtle before they become overwhelming. They whisper lies before they shout fear. They drain your energy before they steal your joy. And if you are not aware, you may begin to believe that what you are experiencing is normal, when in truth, it is a targeted disruption of your purpose. But awareness changes everything. When your eyes are open, confusion turns into clarity, and fear loses its grip. There are signs, clear, undeniable signals that reveal what is really happening beneath the surface, waiting to be recognized by those who are willing to see beyond the physical realm. There are seasons when peace seems to quietly slip away, not through any visible storm, but through an unexplainable inner unrest that lingers day and night. You wake up feeling heavy even after rest. Your thoughts feel crowded, your heart unsettled, and your spirit unable to find stillness. Nothing dramatic may have happened, no obvious crisis or conflict, yet something feels deeply off within you. This kind of disturbance does not always come with clear reasons, and that is what makes it so dangerous. It disguises itself as normal stress, everyday pressure, or emotional fatigue, slowly convincing you that this is just how life feels now. What makes this loss of peace even more significant is its persistence. It doesn't pass quickly like a bad mood or a difficult day. Instead, it lingers, returning again and again, interrupting moments that should feel calm and replacing them with tension. Even in quiet environments, your mind refuses to rest. Even in moments meant for prayer or reflection, distraction and unease take over. It feels as though something is constantly pulling your attention away from stillness, keeping you in a state of inner noise and subtle chaos. This kind of unrest often attacks your clarity. Decisions become harder, confidence begins to fade. You may start second-guessing yourself, questioning things that once felt certain. It creates a fog that clouds your perception, making simple situations feel overwhelming. Over time, this lack of peace begins to affect not just your thoughts, but your actions. You hesitate where you once moved boldly. You withdraw where you once engaged fully. You feel disconnected from the sense of direction and purpose that once guided you. There is also a quiet exhaustion that comes with it. Not just physical tiredness, but a deeper kind of fatigue that touches your spirit. You may find yourself drained without understanding why, as if something unseen is constantly pulling from your energy. Even small tasks can feel heavier than usual. Joy becomes harder to access, and moments that once brought happiness now feel muted or distant. This is not simply emotional imbalance or coincidence. When peace is repeatedly disrupted without a clear cause, it can be a signal that something deeper is at work, something attempting to destabilize your inner foundation. Peace is not just a feeling, it is a state of alignment, a place where your mind, heart, and spirit are grounded and centered. When that alignment is disturbed consistently, it opens the door for confusion, fear, and doubt to take root more easily. Recognizing this pattern is the first step toward reclaiming what has been quietly taken. Awareness allows you to pause and observe rather than absorb everything you feel. It gives you the power to question what is happening within you instead of automatically accepting it as truth. In that awareness, you begin to separate what is truly yours from what is being imposed upon your spirit, creating space for restoration to begin and strength to rise again within you as you move forward into deeper understanding. There are times when fear and anxiety appear suddenly, without warning or logical explanation, as if they have been placed into your mind from somewhere beyond your control. You may find yourself worrying about things that never used to trouble you, imagining outcomes that feel intense and overwhelming despite having no real evidence to support them. These thoughts do not feel like your usual reasoning. They feel intrusive, persistent, and strangely powerful, as if they are trying to dominate your inner world. This kind of mental pressure often comes in patterns. It repeats itself in cycles, returning at specific moments, especially when you are trying to focus, rest, or grow spiritually. You may notice that just when you begin to feel calm or hopeful, a wave of negative thoughts rises again, bringing doubt, insecurity, and fear. It is not random. It is strategic. It targets your peace and attempts to weaken your confidence from within. What makes these thoughts especially dangerous is how convincing they can become over time. At first, you may recognize them as unusual or out of place, but the more they repeat, the more familiar they feel. Slowly, they begin to sound like your own voice. You start to question your worth, your direction, and even your faith. Doubt begins to replace certainty, and fear starts to shape your decisions. Instead of moving forward with clarity, you hesitate, overthink, and withdraw. These patterns often focus on your vulnerabilities. They amplify your past mistakes, your insecurities, and your fears about the future. They may whisper that you are not strong enough, not capable enough, or not worthy of the life you are trying to build. They may try to convince you that failure is inevitable or that your efforts are meaningless. This constant negativity can slowly erode your sense of identity, making you feel smaller, weaker, and more uncertain about who you truly are. There is also a physical weight that can come with these thoughts. Your body may feel tense, your breathing shallow, your chest heavy. Sleep may become restless, and your mind may refuse to slow down even when you are exhausted. It creates a cycle where the more you think, the more anxious you feel, and the more anxious you feel, the harder it becomes to break free from the thoughts. But these patterns are not a reflection of your true self. They are signals that something is trying to influence your inner dialogue, attempting to shift your focus away from truth and into fear. When fear becomes louder than your inner peace, it begins to control your perception of reality. It distorts situations, exaggerates problems, and hides possibilities. Recognizing these thoughts for what they are is a powerful step. It allows you to pause instead of react, to observe instead of absorb. It creates a moment of awareness where you can begin to separate your authentic voice from the noise that is trying to overpower it, opening the path toward clarity, resilience, and a renewed sense of control over your mind and spirit as you continue forward into deeper awareness and strength. There are seasons when progress feels blocked at every turn, when the path that once seemed clear becomes filled with unexpected delays, complications, and resistance. You make plans, you take action, you invest your time and energy, yet the results do not come as expected. Opportunities slip away at the last moment, doors that seemed open suddenly close, and simple tasks become unusually difficult to complete. What once flowed with ease now feels heavy, interrupted, and constantly delayed. These obstacles often appear in patterns that are difficult to ignore. It is not just one area of life, but multiple areas being affected at the same time. Your work may slow down, your relationships may become strained, and your personal goals may feel harder to reach. Even when you try to adjust your approach or work harder, the resistance remains. It creates a sense of frustration, as if something is standing in your way, unseen yet persistent. What makes this experience more confusing is that the obstacles do not always make logical sense. You may do everything correctly, follow the right steps, and still encounter setbacks that seem disproportionate to your efforts. Small issues turn into larger problems, minor delays stretch into long periods of waiting, and things that should move forward become stuck. This repeated pattern can begin to wear down your confidence, making you question whether you are on the right path at all. Over time, these continuous delays can begin to affect your mindset. You may start to feel discouraged, doubting your abilities and your decisions. Motivation can begin to fade as progress becomes harder to see. You may hesitate to take new steps, fearing that more obstacles will arise. This hesitation can create a cycle where inaction reinforces the feeling of being stuck, and the feeling of being stuck reinforces inaction. There is also a subtle emotional weight that comes with repeated setbacks. It can feel as though your efforts are not being recognized or rewarded, leading to disappointment and fatigue. The excitement that once fueled your actions may begin to diminish, replaced by uncertainty and caution. You may find yourself overthinking every decision, trying to avoid further delays, yet still feeling unable to move forward with confidence. These patterns are not always random. When obstacles and delays appear consistently in areas that matter most to your growth and purpose, it can indicate a deeper disruption. It is as if your momentum is being challenged, your direction tested, and your persistence stretched. The resistance may try to convince you to give up, to turn back, or to settle for less than what you are capable of achieving. Recognizing this pattern allows you to shift your perspective. Instead of seeing each obstacle as a final barrier, you begin to see it as something to navigate with awareness and strength. You become more intentional with your actions, more focused on your direction, and more resilient in the face of resistance, preparing your spirit to remain steady even when progress feels delayed and uncertain, as you continue forward into deeper understanding of what lies beneath these repeated challenges. There are moments when the desire to pray, reflect, or seek spiritual connection begins to fade in a way that feels unfamiliar and unintentional. What once felt natural and life-giving starts to feel distant, like a routine that has lost its meaning. You may find yourself avoiding quiet moments, delaying prayer, or feeling disconnected when you try to engage spiritually. It is not always a conscious decision, but rather a subtle shift that slowly creates distance between you and the source of your strength. This loss of motivation often begins quietly. At first, it may feel like simple distraction or busyness. You tell yourself you will pray later, reflect another time, or reconnect when things calm down. But as time passes, that delay becomes a pattern. The space that was once filled with spiritual awareness begins to be replaced by noise, distraction, and other priorities that pull your focus away. Without realizing it, the connection that once grounded you starts to weaken. What makes this shift more significant is the way it affects your inner state. When you are spiritually engaged, there is a sense of clarity, purpose, and direction that guides your thoughts and actions. But when that connection fades, confusion can begin to take its place. You may feel less certain about your decisions, less confident in your path, and more vulnerable to doubt. The absence of spiritual grounding can make everything else feel unstable, as if you are trying to move forward without a solid foundation. There's also a noticeable change in your sensitivity to what once mattered deeply. Things that once stirred your heart or inspired you may no longer have the same impact. You may feel indifferent toward moments that once brought peace, joy, or conviction. This numbness can be subtle at first, but over time it creates a deeper sense of disconnection, not only from your spiritual life, but from your sense of purpose as well. In many cases, this loss of motivation is accompanied by resistance. When you try to return to prayer or spiritual practice, it may feel difficult to focus. Your mind may wander, your thoughts may feel scattered, and your desire to continue may quickly fade. It can feel as though something is pulling you away just as you try to draw closer. This resistance can be discouraging, making it easier to stop trying rather than push through the discomfort. As this pattern continues, it can lead to a gradual withdrawal from the very practices that once strengthened you. You may begin to rely more on your own understanding, losing touch with the deeper guidance that once shaped your perspective. This distance can create a sense of emptiness, as if something essential is missing but difficult to identify. Recognizing this shift is a powerful moment of awareness. It allows you to see that what feels like a lack of desire may actually be a disruption of connection, something that can be addressed with intention and persistence, creating space for renewal and a deeper return to the practices that restore your strength and clarity as you continue forward into greater awareness of the influences shaping your spiritual journey. There are moments when the pull towards certain behaviors becomes stronger than usual, as if something is quietly urging you to step outside of your values and into patterns you thought you had already overcome. These urges may not appear suddenly, but instead grow gradually, becoming more persistent and harder to ignore. What once felt like a choice now begins to feel like pressure, as if your willpower is being tested in ways that feel unfamiliar and intense. This increased temptation often targets areas where you have struggled before. It brings back old habits, old thoughts, and old desires that you believed were no longer part of your life. It may come in subtle forms at first, small compromises that seem harmless, but over time, those small steps begin to lead toward deeper patterns. The more attention you give to these urges, the stronger they become, creating a cycle that can feel difficult to break. What makes this experience even more challenging is how it can disguise itself as comfort or relief. In moments of stress, frustration, or emotional exhaustion, these destructive habits may appear to offer a temporary escape. They promise a sense of ease, a break from pressure, or a quick solution to inner discomfort. But that relief is often short-lived, followed by a deeper sense of regret, emptiness, or disconnection. The cycle repeats, pulling you further away from the clarity and strength you desire. There is also a mental battle that takes place alongside these temptations. You may find yourself justifying actions that once felt clearly wrong, convincing yourself that it is not a big deal or that you deserve this moment of indulgence. Your reasoning becomes clouded and your sense of discipline weakens. Over time, this internal dialogue can shift your standards, making it easier to accept behaviors that once conflicted with your values. As these patterns continue, they begin to affect more than just isolated moments. They can influence your identity, shaping how you see yourself and what you believe you are capable of overcoming. You may begin to feel trapped, as if you are repeating the same mistakes despite your desire to change. This can lead to frustration, self-doubt, and a sense of losing control over your own actions. There is also a gradual impact on your spiritual awareness. The more you engage in these patterns, the more distant you may feel from the sense of clarity and peace that once guided you. It becomes harder to focus, harder to reconnect, and easier to drift further into distraction. This distance can create a feeling of separation, as if something is standing between you and the life you are meant to live. Recognizing this pattern is a powerful moment of awakening. It allows you to see that these urges are not simply random impulses, but signals that require attention, discipline, and awareness, giving you the opportunity to interrupt the cycle and begin reclaiming control over your choices and direction as you move forward into a deeper understanding of the forces influencing your actions. There are times when a deep sense of isolation begins to settle in, even when you are surrounded by people. Conversations may continue, routines may stay the same, yet internally there is a growing distance that is difficult to explain. You may feel unseen, unheard, or misunderstood, as if the connection you once felt with others has slowly faded. This is not always caused by physical separation, but by an inner withdrawal that creates a quiet barrier between you and the world around you. This feeling of disconnection often extends beyond relationships and begins to touch your sense of self. You may feel out of alignment with who you are, unsure of your place, or disconnected from the purpose that once guided you. It can feel as though something essential has been lost, leaving behind a sense of emptiness that is hard to define. Even activities that once brought joy or fulfillment may no longer have the same effect, making everything feel distant and less meaningful. Along with isolation comes a noticeable drain in your energy. It is not just physical tiredness, but a deeper exhaustion that affects your motivation, focus, and emotional strength. You may find it difficult to engage fully in daily tasks, feeling as though your energy is constantly being depleted. Even rest may not restore you the way it once did, leaving you feeling persistently drained and unable to recharge. This combination of isolation and fatigue can create a cycle that reinforces itself. The more disconnected you feel, the less you may reach out to others or engage in meaningful interactions. The less you engage, the deeper the sense of isolation becomes. Over time, this cycle can make it feel as though you are carrying everything alone without support or understanding from those around you. There is also a subtle shift in your emotional state. You may become more withdrawn, less expressive, and more guarded in your interactions. It can feel safer to keep things to yourself rather than risk being misunderstood or unheard. This emotional distance can further deepen the sense of separation, making it harder to rebuild the connections that once felt natural. In many cases, this isolation is accompanied by a quiet sense of discouragement. You may begin to feel as though your presence does not matter as much, or that your voice carries less weight. This can lead to a loss of confidence in expressing yourself, making it even more difficult to reconnect with others in a meaningful way. At the same time, your inner world may feel heavier than usual. Thoughts may become more introspective, sometimes drifting toward doubt or uncertainty. Without the balance of external connection and internal strength, it becomes easier to feel overwhelmed by your own emotions and reflections. Recognizing this pattern is a powerful step toward change. It allows you to see that what you are experiencing is not simply who you are, but something that has developed over time, creating an opportunity to gently reconnect, restore your energy, and begin rebuilding the sense of belonging and inner strength that supports your journey forward into deeper awareness and renewed connection. When you begin to recognize these signs, something powerful shifts within you. What once felt confusing starts to make sense, and what once felt overwhelming begins to lose its control. You realize that not everything you feel, think, or face is random. There are deeper layers to your experiences, and understanding them gives you clarity, awareness, and strength. Instead of being consumed by what is happening, you begin to observe it with intention and purpose. Awareness is not meant to create fear, but to awaken discernment. It allows you to stand firm when everything around you feels unstable. It reminds you that your peace, your mind, and your spirit are worth protecting. The more aware you become, the less power these patterns have over you. You begin to recognize when something is trying to pull you away from your purpose, and you respond with strength instead of confusion. This journey is not about perfection, but about awakening. It is about learning to guard your inner world, to remain grounded, and to move forward with confidence even when challenges arise. As your awareness deepens, so does your resilience, allowing you to stand stronger, think clearer, and walk forward with a renewed sense of direction and inner authority.